day, the president announcing what truly looks like huge intervention measures. I mean, no jokes at all in terms of just the costs that have not been spared, whether you're talking about interventions on increasing budgets for health and municipalities, whether you're talking about relief to vulnerable people. What is your perspective after listening to what he had to say, Mr. Pityana?
Well, first of all, I would like to commend the President for his extensive consultation with all of us and getting feedback on how the measures that have been undertaken so far have impacted society generally, particularly the health effort, which was always our priority as a country. And of course, we've been engaged in bringing attention to what the impact is as we see it, both the social dimension, in other words, the humanitarian impact of a lockdown, and also the impact on the economy. You will have seen, JJ, that there are companies and sectors of the economy that have been, over the period, been considered essential service, and that arises from conversations that the social partners have been having with government, looking at what the long-term impact would be. So this round of intervention by the President emanates from a discussion on what he calls the second phase, basically looking at how we prepare for a much more eased set of interventions. But dealing with the social impact, the poverty that this has had, and the dire need that it has caused in various communities. And it also is looking at, in a very creative way, at a stimulus package. This can rightfully be referred to as a stimulus package this time around.
Absolutely. I mean, I was saying earlier that this is 10 times the suggested stimulus package of 2 years ago, which was about 50 billion rand. So quite a decisive move in this regard. Are you confident that this kind of relief measures will stand in the gap adequately? In other words, did you discuss with him measures to ensure efficiency in distributing this relief? Because it's one thing to have the relief fund, it's another to then get feedback like we did from the small business initiative earlier on, that people have, that money hasn't trickled down to where it's needed.
Well, we are concerned about the capacity of the state to deliver. The President would be the first one to say so, but we are in a space now where we have to engage differently, and that engagement begins to say, Mr. President and government, where are the shortcomings in the state system in enabling that delivery to happen expeditiously to ensure that the intended impact is achieved, and how can we work together and assist you to ensure that that happens? So all of us know that there are inefficiencies in the state system. We know that there is corruption, not only in the state system, by the way, but also in the private sector, in NGOs, in the trade union movement. Corruption is abound in our society. So what do we do to make sure that corruption doesn't steal where we're seeking to make a positive impact on the needy communities, and also in impacting positively in protecting businesses from falling over, but also ensuring that we protect jobs and give those businesses that are a lifeline for our economy an opportunity and a chance to live another day.
All right. The President also announcing what is called the easing of lockdown conditions and the return to the open economy. What are the social partners' view about how such a return to the economy is concerned, given the warning of the World Health Organization that any abrupt lessening of restrictions may result in a disaster? But if you look at economies like the US, there's always this nervousness or trepidation about the opening of the economy too prematurely. What are you advising the President as social partners on how we should go about opening that economy? Is the issue of an extension of a lockdown on the table or not?
Well, we take that warning to heart, and we think that both the epidemiology as well as the economic dimensions of this have got to be looked at in tandem. It would be a great pity if, having sacrificed in the way we have and sustained it for a period of 5 weeks, if that's how long it's going to be, to now rush back because we feel the pressure on the economic side and lose the ground that we have gained on the epidemiological side. So clearly, we think that this must be looked at hand in hand. However, if we don't attend to the squeeze that has come and impacted so much on the economy, where we're trying to save lives from the virus and the health scare, we might very well lose lives as a result of a collapsing economy. So we have to do a balancing act, and it's good that we are in conversation with social partners. We understand clearly the thinking and the logic from the health side. Our own health experts from business are very keen to make sure that we don't push the aspect of the economy too much at the expense of the health gains that have been made and possible dangers that are lurking ahead. But it is possible to look at a much more relaxed lockdown arrangement from our perspective.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective there, and Pityana. Would you say that the announcement of the stimulus package, in a sense, may then lessen the blow? Should a decision be taken that maybe we need another 21 days because the curve, as you have seen it, is not flattening at all. There's more deaths since the last time the president announced the lockdown. There's more cases, and there is nervousness around the world also that the cases are increasing. Do you think that the stimulus package, as we have seen it today, may be well laying the ground for, if you will, a more palatable lockdown extension rather than rushing to uplift it because you don't have anything to balance it with, whether in terms of interventions that can help society?
We've shared with the government and our social partners the hard numbers that look at the impact of this period of lockdown on the economy, and we think that it's a compelling statement that suggests that that impact. So for some businesses, they may never be able to come back unless there's been a set of measures that are introduced to try and assist them to come back. And therefore, the set of measures that are being spoken to today are a response to that. And in some ways, they will shape the conversations we've had will shape the approach we take with regard to the post 5 weeks, if you like, lockdown arrangement. Our view is that lockdown has served a very important purpose. It may still be the case that we need a different version of a lockdown, perhaps a moderated version. Certain sectors that, if not relieved, would probably fall over. So we need to take a balanced approach and make sure that we sustain the gains that we've made on the health side, but also protect the economy, giving due regard to health protocols that we would have to implement for those that are going back. And I think that it is possible to do that from what we've seen in other areas.
Yeah. If you look at some of the relief measures, whether be to health, to municipalities, to social grant recipients, is there anything that maybe we missed in terms of support to sectors? And maybe while you are at it, you can tell me whether, for example, issues of loans to big institutions like insurance and banks have also been taken somehow into account to assist those businesses to be slightly lenient. Briefly there, Mr. Pityana?
Well, two of our members are in that sector. One is the Banking Association of South Africa, and the other one is ASISA, which is an association of securities industries of South Africa. So those two have looked at what kind of measures do they put in place to protect and assist their customers in this environment, ranging from small to big businesses and ordinary customers. And they include payment holidays for loans that are due, and also for premiums that customers have to make in the period without having their insurance coverages being compromised. So there are a whole range of interventions that we've looked at there, and I think that our social partners have welcomed some of these, and we're looking at others too, where we get suggestions from social partners. The engagements that we've had are quite iterative, and we respond to suggestions as put forward. The advantage is that where we would have restrictions, for instance, I can tell you this as a director of a bank, that we are not acting at free will. We're governed by the prudential authorities, and that's your Reserve Bank. So you can't do reckless lending. But this environment requires that we be a lot more accommodative of the circumstances of our customers, who would be businesses, etc. So the regulatory framework has to be permissive, and we have to collaborate with each other. The Competition Commission rules were making it difficult to do that, and the Ministry of Trade and Industry has relaxed those regulations to enable us to think together about how we can assist and alleviate the pressures on businesses and our customers who may be in the informal sector, or ordinary customers who may be facing difficulties because they are facing particular financial challenges as a result of this. So this collaboration has enabled us to move fast in certain areas, but indeed we've not been able to move as fast in others because of the sheer inadequacies of the system, particularly in the state on the state side.